Let's go. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that improves itself, improves ourselves, and improves the self in general. My name's Ty. I will be your host. And as always, I'm joined by my cordial co-host, Distance. And And tonight, we're going to discuss the idea of a quote-unquote friend. What does that word mean? What does it mean to be a friend? Where is the place for that relationship, or that I guess that position in today's world and in our lives? So yeah, I like I guess the first thing is I like having this conversation with you because I consider you like basically my best friend. So it's
basically
like, well, yeah, basically, but that's where it comes down to, like, what friend means to us. And yeah, so I guess, like, to start, you know me, I like the language, I like the semantics of it. So I did look up the definition of I guess this is Merriam-Webster's probably definition of friend, and it was just simply defined as a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. So, like, that to me, I'm not claiming that I'm a better better at defining words than Merriam-Webster. I think they pretty much have a chokehold on the dictionary market, but I think that's like almost does not encapsulate what friend means to me. That could also just be like acquaintance. That's a pretty weak definition, in my opinion, of what a friend is.
Yeah, I mean, because like that is a definition that's so cold that, like, sitting here talking to my friend, I feel like no part of that describes anything that you and I have in our friendship.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, bond, not sexual. Well,
hold on.
At least I don't think it is.
Yeah. Give it a minute.
But like there's just so much more there, especially because we've known each other for more than 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
God, we're so old.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's just like like it's just not adequate. It's really not.
Well, either that, or is there a better term that would mean, like, should there be another word that actually means like close friends? Once you actually have a formed relationship with someone, and you two are partners in something, and you are working together to, like, reinforce each other as people, whenever, like, there's a lot more to what I think a lot of people's friendships are than just this generic definition. This can cover everything from, like, oh, this guy that I met at the bar last weekend, he's my friend, to, like we're saying, someone that has been in your life for 20 years and you can, rely on them when you need someone to talk to. Like, that is it's so weird that one word covers such a wide variety of relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I try to use the term specifically the way that I mean it, and then use acquaintance for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Just someone that I kind of know. But I think that there's like that when I view, like, or at least what I think of as a good friend, now I think of it as like someone who's not just kind of there that you hang out with, but somebody who, what was it? I read what was it? I read like a quote. It was like a friend is someone. A friend is someone that walks. It's like that walks toward you when a million others are walking away.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Okay.
I'm butchering that. But it's like the idea that, like, you like, a friend is going to be someone who's like steadfast, who's there, who isn't going to like tell you what you want to hear, who's going to have a sincere interest in being built up by you, and who's going to have a sincere interest in building you up, and, like, working together to be something more than what you happen to be. That, the idea that we are worth more together than we are alone,
Yeah, yeah.
and that we can push each other and sometimes even compete in a friendly fashion,
Hmm.
um, and to be there when everything just goes completely to hell, like you when you think that everyone else has abandoned you, that the people that are really your friends will be the ones that haven't. They'll be the ones that prove you wrong. Like no
Yes.
one's like, you think that, but not everyone. That kind of thing.
See, but then that's where I start to like challenge my views and opinions on this, because I agree. Where I am at my point in life right now, what I want to do, my goals, everything, like that is what I define friend as in a meaningful way. I very much agree with your definition, but I think that there's a lot of people that that's not really what they would want. You know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of people that possibly they do just want a friend that is like just there to have fun, not challenge them in any sort of way, not put and I like I don't that isn't right for me, but I don't feel like I can make the value judgment that that isn't right for them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't. I guess it's a personal thing. I mean, I would say that you could, that if that's all you're looking for, then that's fine. But
Yeah.
there could still be more value that you could get from a friendship.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes some people think of it, yeah, it's just someone to have fun with, like someone to do things together with. Like there's a lot of guys I work with that are like, hunters and, ride four wheelers and things like that.
Mhm.
And that for them, a friend, you're not really there to necessarily support each other emotionally, even though maybe you could, but just let's go hunting together
Yep.
and talk about hunting, and let's go ride four wheelers, and let's go watch sports.
Yeah.
Like there's some people where one of my coworkers, he's a analytical chemist.
Mhm.
He has a friend like where he and his buddy will just sit in a room together and like watch TV or like anime
Mhm.
or like work on something, but like not really interact at all. And
Yeah.
his wife thinks it's the weirdest damn thing ever. But for him, it's like just that's their friendship.
Yeah.
There was even a point in time where it was I was sitting. It was my girlfriend at the time. I was at her place, and her roommate's boyfriend was there. We
Mhm.
were on the couch, and I don't really like baseball, but he does, and there was beer. So he was like, "You want to watch a game?" I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Glug glug glug. And we're sitting there, and then my girlfriend comes around the corner, and she goes,
I just need to
"Hey,
point
do you?"
out you cracked open a can and then held a bottle. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of
It
weird.
kind of switched midway. There was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
what
guess
just
cans don't make that sound, do they? And the way that I was doing it was far enough away from my face that, yeah, okay, that was weird. I guess my memory's unclear of what we were drinking out of. So then my girlfriend comes into the room and she says, "Hey, do you guys want me to order a pizza?" And I look at I think Peter was his name. I look at him, I'm like, "Huh?" And he's like, and I was like, huh. I was like, "No, I think we're good." And then like we just go back to sipping beer and watching a baseball game, which like I mean I wasn't super interested in, but he was into it. Now he was actually entertaining me by getting excited. So she just sat there and looked at us, and we were just kind of like, What's up?" She's
Yeah.
like, "You know that you two just communicated exclusively in grunts?" And I was like,
Eh.
yeah, I kind of looked at him and I was like, "We did." He's like, "Yeah, we did." But
Yeah.
like we didn't notice at all. But and I'm not saying that, that's just to illustrate that, you don't always have to have that. There don't always have to be words involved. Like there's
Mhm.
sometimes where you can just, hang out. And like, like there's some guys that I know that I consider friends that if you want to go and talk about how you're feeling about a specific event in your life, they're completely worthless for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want to go and like have fun and do some dumb shit and goof off, then that's your guy.
Yeah.
That's the person that you want to be with.
Yep.
And so I recognize that there's value otherwise.
Yeah.
But the thing that I notice is that the friends that I have, at least the close ones, they're all obsessed with something.
Yeah. We've talked about that recently.
Yeah. And it is very strange that those are the types of people that I gravitate toward.
Yeah, I mean, it probably says something about you, and you know,
What are you trying to say?
But no, like, I completely agree, and it's I've noticed for myself the talking and the communication is a big part of friendship for me. Whenever I look for a friend, it's like I don't have many friends that it's just the, you know, hanging out, having fun, or, you know, or just like Lee and you pointed out, like being able to sit in a room just kind of silently and doing your own thing and considering that a friendship. That's fine. I'm making no judgment call for people that do that. It's just that is not, I don't get much from that. If I want to have the social interaction, like to me a lot of it is like, well, let's pick each other's brains. Let's talk about what's going on in our lives. Let's have a real conversation.
Yeah. Because that's like you and I, that is like all we do.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I mean, we have some things in common. Like we play some of the same games.
Yeah.
But even when we're playing a game, we always end up on that.
Yeah. Yep.
Like we might do something together, but we're going to talk about a thing.
Exactly.
And you know, like one thing that, well, I don't know, that might be something for later in the episode, that what I was thinking. But I think that, you know, that for us, it's like, it's weird because you and I didn't really talk much for close to a decade, maybe.
Maybe
probably
like something
eight
around
years,
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
And would like text every now and then. But somehow, like, I think that we independently changed in convergent ways.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then like we ended up like being, because like, it's almost like the people who we were preceding that wouldn't have necessarily wanted to be friends, but the people that we are now are. And there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. And you know, maybe it'll get to the point like where we change to the point like where maybe we're not the best for each other anymore. And that's the thing that I think that a lot of people don't think about, is that we always think about romantic relationships as things that you need to figure out if you need to end it or not. You know, like, I can't do this anymore, or we're no good for each other. It's something that you say to a romantic partner, but that also applies to friends too.
Yes.
I mean, there's points that you get to where you and someone else grow out of each other. Not to say that like you grow up necessarily, but
just grow apart. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my cat is fighting the coffee table again.
Speaking of friends,
yeah, what about him?
Do you I mean, like that was kind of memey, but at the same time, do you consider any relationship you've ever had with a pet to be friend in any way? Like, would you call your cat a friend?
Hey, buddy, how do you feel about anarcho-capitalism? No, he's not my friend.
He has a pretty nuanced opinion, though.
He's not my friend.
His silence speaks volumes, though. I don't know.
Does it? Okay. Oh my God.
But no, like, see, I mean, that's, you know, that's where I kind of hate how broad this term is, because it's like, I mean, I do, I mean, yeah, like pet is one term, but it's like, I do consider the relationship that I have with my cat to be like somewhat friendly. Like, he doesn't give back in any of the ways like we're talking about that I look for in an actual friend. But it's like that term, though, you know, I don't want to call him an acquaintance. I guess maybe I should just default to he's my pet, and like that should sum up what else is there. But a lot of times, like, having something as a pet doesn't necessarily convey any sort of like emotional attachment or you know, because I've also had fish that were my pets, and there was not a lot there. You know, it's just, you know, you put a few flakes of food in the bowl every day, and that's it. Versus like, I think there is a lot of communication and interaction that goes on between me and I'm sounding like a crazy cat person at this point, but
you're not quite there.
I don't have enough cats yet. need more cats, but you know what I mean, though. It's like that there is like a lot more there than many other just pet relationships or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, and you know, I've known people over the years that have snakes, and they're like, "Oh, I love my little python," and I'm like, "You're a sick fuck."
Or I think we both completely overlooked it because we're both kind of cat people, but they even call dogs man's best friend. There are a lot of people that would consider their relationship with their dog to be like very friendly.
Yeah, which to me is like a hilarious misnomer because I think of it more like, and I don't mean to offend the dog people, but like I go, okay, here, I'll start with cats. Cats are like man's most intelligent enemy.
Yeah.
Man's friendliest enemy, let's call it that. Whereas like I think dogs are more like man's most subservient slave.
Okay.
Because I think that dogs, most breeds will do just about anything to please you.
Yeah.
There's very few that wouldn't do that. So it's like weird because, you know, they're essentially like these like, and you can make them do things
Yeah.
and they'll do it. Like it's almost kind of,
Oh, you need some
I don't
peanut
know,
butter.
man.
They'll do anything for peanut butter.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, like I've even seen videos like, you know, if it's hard to give your dog a bath and they really don't like the water, you can smear peanut butter on the shower walls and the dog will just sit there licking it while you bathe them. And it's like it's a great distraction just to keep them like not really paying attention to what you're doing.
Fun fact, you know Mr. Ed with the talking horse?
Yeah,
You know how they got the horse to move its mouth like that?
it was peanut butter under the gums, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, peanut butter.
Um,
George Washington
but-
Carver. He was a genius, man.
Hell yeah. Peanut butter is one of my favorite things. Yeah, so you know, I don't really know. Like, I don't know that it's appropriate because, like, you know, my cat is trapped here,
True. Yeah.
so it's like, you know, that's kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of messed up, you know, and you know, and there's also, if you look at dogs like taken to the extreme, one of the major reasons why you see the fun fact, pit bull's actually a blanket term. I don't know if you knew that. The reason why pit bull attacks are like higher in the statistics for like dog attacks is because it actually covers several breeds, so the statistics are actually skewed.
Oh, interesting.
But the one that I think they specifically call the pit bull terrier, one of the major reasons why those dogs are used for fighting is because they're one of the breeds that will do just about anything to please you, including die.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of gut wrenching to think about someone taking advantage of that animal's nature and forcing it to fight another animal until it dies.
Yeah. It's pretty sick.
And they like throw them in dumpsters and shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay, maybe we'll do an episode on animal rights.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like, but yeah, because for me, I think it's their nature that makes them not qualify exactly. Like I feel like to my cat, I'm just an annoying roommate.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Just won't fucking go to work anymore.
Well, but you're like you're the infinite source of food though. And that
Yeah,
like
it's like,
if that's what he's looking for in a friendship, you might be his best friend because it's like he's got that kibble. He's got that good kibble.
and it's funny, he's actually eating right now.
Nice.
And it's funny, the joke that I heard is, are you aware that the cats don't say meow to each other? They make a
Yes.
bunch of other sounds, but they don't say meow.
Yeah, there was an interesting documentary called The Lion in My Living Room that I learned that from.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
That was cool. God,
Yeah.
we're such cat ladies.
It was well done, man. It was good. Yeah.
But yeah, it's that there was a joke that I saw that in light of the fact that they only say it to humans,
Mhm.
that it means, you know, come here, slave, feed
Yeah.
me. But you know, it's like it's funny too because you can see like cat versus dog people and the vet, like that there's this weird like judgment that we're all passing about each other.
Dude, it feeds into exactly the episode idea you had of just tribalism.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder though, like we talked about, there are a lot of people that do want that idea of a friend that is just like some people, I think we're both in this camp. We want a friend that's going to call us on our bullshit. If I'm doing something, if I'm acting like an idiot, I want a friend that is going to be like, hey, dude, you know, why are you doing this? What's going on here? There's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that want that dog level of friendship that is just this almost blind obedience of like, they're always going to be like, no matter what you say, no matter what conversation you're trying to have with them, they're just going to be like, oh, well, you're right. They were wrong in that situation. You did everything right. Like there's people that want that.
Yeah. And what we want, I mean, hell, I needed you to gently tell me I was an idiot earlier today. So thanks for that. Now I can, but see, that's so cool because now I can work to not be an idiot in that specific way. I can be an idiot in different ways instead. And then you can call me out on those.
I do. I mean, it comes down to we're both at least somewhat comfortable with discomfort. And that is an uncomfortable thing to realize, like, oh shit, I was out of line, I did something wrong, or like, and a lot of people don't want to confront that. And especially if what they're looking for in a friendship is mainly just having fun and enjoyment, that can take the enjoyment out of a moment. All of a sudden things feel like, feel kind of shitty. And that's like, I can understand why people don't want that. However, that's just not my idea of a friend.
And I think that the thing between you and I is that regardless of how things start or how a subject begins to be talked about, by the time a subject of conversation regarding the other person's actions comes to a close, there's no shaming. Like we
Yes.
address like the thing, and then it's like, might take a little convincing, but then once the other party's convinced, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, cool. It's not like, oh, I know I'm right, you fucking idiot. You're so stupid. I can't believe you did something so dumb, you jerk. And the other thing is that like I think that well, maybe more you than me because I can be definitely a douche sometimes. But I think that we also practice like forgiving each other for stupid shit. Like
Yeah.
there's no way anybody could know anyone as long as we've known each other and not upset or hurt the other person or say something stupid or out of line. Like it's not possible.
Well, yeah, you could if the relationship is so fickle that there's no actual interaction. If you've just had this acquaintance that all it is every week you text hey to each other, and then on holidays you say Merry Christmas, then yeah, of course. But that to me, that's not a real friendship. There's nothing there. Yeah.
Like if we wanted like the yes man type people in our lives, then yeah, there probably would never be any kind of conflict.
Yep.
But I mean, the thing is that, like I think that, well, you can tell by like the type of podcast we do that like we are two people that are committed to trying to be better.
Yeah.
Who aren't perfect, who still screw up, but try to figure something out whenever they do.
Yeah, I think it shows two main things. We're both interested in like you're saying, getting better and growing, and also interested in exploring ideas. And I think that those two things go hand in hand and work really well together to create a friendship that involves a lot of actual mental connection and actual, like what I would call meaningful interaction.
And, like we're also two people that are looking for a solution. Mm-hmm. Like we don't come to each other with anything just wanting to vent or to like have someone listen.
Yeah.
That maybe if that happens, that there's an expectation that at the end of the conversation that your friend will try to do something or say something to help, or to give you whatever piece of information you're looking for, or whatever lesson can be gained from whatever situation. And there's some people that just want to be able to, did you ever see the episode of the cartoon Metalocalypse where one of the guys had his own brand of cell phones?
Yes.
And he picks it up and he's like, yeah, what did you say? Oh, then what did she say? She didn't. Then what did you say? Then what did she say? She said what? You said what? Then what did she say? Like some people like, that's kind of what they're looking for. And that's fine. Like if you just want like a sounding board.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where like, I want to make sure it's clear that it's like, I'm not at all trying to make a judgment call and say that that's not right. If that works for that person, then and that's fine. It's just like, that's not the type of friendship that I want. And that's not what I'm looking for. And that's not the type of people that I really want to spend my time around. But
right. Yeah. And we all have our own ideas of that. And I think ours are obviously going to be pretty similar because we are friends. So
yeah,
we're probably getting the same thing out of this. And that's another thing that I think is important in a friendship, is that a friendship is something that you're meant to get some benefit from.
Yes.
Like it's not a completely altruistic thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not volunteer time. There is a time and place for like, oh, I'm donating my time to, if for instance, if you're going and donating time at an old folks home, spending time with people, that's not a friendship. You are there altruistically. Like you may end up getting something from that, but it's like the goal is, no, I'm here to give. With a friend, I think that it's a symbiotic. I don't know if symbiotic's the right word there, but there is a give and a take. You should be presenting them some sort of benefit, and you should be getting something from your interactions with them.
Yeah, agreed. And sometimes you'll see these situations that I call them harmoniously unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
where you'll have someone who's primarily a very selfish, narcissistic taker, and then they'll end up kind of being in what they call a friendship with another person who's someone who's has like low self value for themselves and feels like they're only the only thing they can do is like give stuff to other people and
Yep.
for any number of reasons. And it's unfortunate, but that stuff happens.
Yeah.
So there are friendships that end up that way. I mean, there's like romantic relationships too, like where partners do that, and you'll see that quite a lot. It's strange actually. Like people pleasers will often end up with like really like nasty people.
Yeah.
But like and to some degree, like I for me, like with my friends, me specifically, I need someone to bash my head in every now and then
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I cross the line and I don't even recognize I'm doing it at the time.
Yeah.
And I have to have friends who are going to push back. Like if I like, because like I don't mean to, I don't do any of that on purpose.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, I need someone to be like, bro, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, yeah. Because if you did nothing but surround yourself with that yes man type of friend, like all it's going to do is positively reinforce that and snowball
Mhm.
into an even, doing it more and more and
Mhm.
stronger, probably.
Yeah, and that ain't no way to be. But I think that because I know that that in this situation we're trying to be accepting of people's ideas of a friendship, but I
Yeah.
think that really the most value you can get is someone that's going to help you be a better person and interact with others in a better, more amicable, more beneficial way, like
Yeah.
for everyone. That's not to say that the other things are bad, but at least for me, the highest benefit is someone that's gonna, you know, cause a little discomfort every now and then,
Yeah. Push me. Yeah.
and
Push me in a direction that is positive. Yeah.
yeah, and like I think that for me, like I'm I'm definitely very guilty of like the tough love thing with most of my friends, but I think most of the friends that I have get it, like they understand, like he doesn't he's not trying to rip me a new one.
Yeah.
Like his intentions are actually good.
Yeah.
But once again, like I do sometimes cross the line a bit, getting a little too tough with the love.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like that's why it's important for someone to tell me, like, whoa, dude. Um, yeah, at least personally.
Yeah.
Um, can you this is something I wait, can we switch gears a little bit? Did you want to continue on the
Sure. No.
path we're
Yeah. No,
on?
you're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So uh, are because this is something I mentioned that I kind of wanted to touch on. Are there people that you are not really friends with anymore that you can think of off the top of your head? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's plenty for
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
us.
Plenty. Yep.
Like, I kind of wonder what contributes to people not being friends anymore. Because a lot of the time, we're not really deliberate about it. It just kind of
Yeah.
happens.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. I've never had um,
an actual breakup.
yeah, I can't think of like a friendship that ever ended because it was like, okay, I'm making the conscious decision that, either this person did something I'm not okay with, or we need to separate ourselves from this person because we have grown apart. Like a lot of times for me, it just happens. Like you're saying, it just kind of happens. Life situations change. You stop spending as much time in a certain area that people tend to frequent. You see them less often, and then I'm also I recognize that I am my like introverted tendencies mean that I don't reach out as much as I should probably to friends, and it's very easy for me to let friendships fall apart because I'm not as good at like as being the one to reach out and be like, hey, how have you been, we should get together. Like it's really easy for me to just let that fall by the wayside. So for me personally, I think that's been the biggest the most common experience, is that it just kind of dissipates because of a lack of interaction.
Yeah, and that's I think I don't know what we were talking about before, but I mentioned in another podcast that for me, like that's just something that I know and accept about you.
Hmm.
And that's another thing that is a little off subject from what we were talking about, but your friends do accept the things about you that really don't matter.
Yeah.
Like if something isn't really a big deal, then they will accept that about you. So for me, it's like some people, because I would say I'm a bit more of an extrovert.
Hmm.
I think they call me an ambivert
Okay.
because I tend to be really energetic around people, but then there's a certain point I get to where I'm like, you guys are exhausting me. I need to leave. But usually it takes a while to get there. So like a lot of extroverts like end up like allowing their feelings to get hurt by that. But for me, it's
Yeah.
like I just accept the fact that like if I want to talk, I'll just reach out to you, and that's fine. That's just something that I accept. Like that
Yeah.
that's just part of the friendship. It doesn't mean that I have to somehow like push some requirement on you. Like I'm the only one trying here. Like because that's not the case. Because it's like if I were the only one trying, then that would mean that when I did reach out, you'd be like, "Don't want to talk to that guy."
Exactly.
Ignore.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think
like at the
you
beginning.
also know that it's not a oh sweet Angel, thank you for the raid. Appreciate that. How are you doing today?
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I think it's also like at least you know that there's no malice there. It's not like I'm trying to avoid someone or anything, or
Yeah.
you know that it's just like, well, I tend to be alone a lot and spend time alone, and it ends up with me unfortunately accidentally avoiding people. But you also know, like you're saying, when you reach out, I'm there. And
Right.
I almost always respond as long as it's like an appropriate time of day and things like that. It's yeah.
Yeah. Um, and also it's another thing, like I don't take it personally if you don't respond till the next day. Like if I text you, because like texting is easy to allow to fall by the wayside and everybody does that. And another thing is that I also know you. And I think that your friends truly that are truly your friends will make an effort to like really get to know who you are. And because I know you and I understand you, that doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
Actually not really at all. But
Yeah.
it's like I think that it's weird because even when you feel like a friendship needs to end, there's no understood requirement to communicate that. It's not like if you decide to break up with a partner, it's not the same.
Yeah.
That no one really expects that. And I mean, I've had a couple of friendships where I've thought to myself like this friendship isn't really working quite so well for me anymore. And then I'm ashamed to say that I essentially just ghost.
Yeah.
But I also don't know that that's something that's necessarily bad.
No, I feel like
Um,
that's almost the default way to end a friendship. Like it's
yeah,
I don't think that it's like necessarily avoiding the conflict of having that conversation. It's more just like it kind of seems to be the accepted way that's what happens. But
yeah, and it's like, and also it's like I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial to the other party for me to say anything. It might even be detrimental. Um, but it's weird because that just kind of happens. Like people just sort of lose touch, and
yeah.
I think about how like I was not deliberate in very many of the times um, that I've sort of kind of and the friendships have sort of ended. But I think there's a certain point that it gets to where if you realize that someone is toxic or if it's like a one-sided relationship like any other, that we do need to be aware of that, and we do need to like assess that we need to recognize that just because it's not a romantic partnership
Hmm.
doesn't mean that we don't need to be observant of what's happening and trying to figure out if it's like good or healthy for us. Because I mean, you don't want somebody around that's going to bitch all the time and do nothing to help themselves.
Exactly. However, like as we're saying this, it's like I even just said to Angel in chat that it's like it's almost strange to have the breakup talk with a friend. It almost makes more sense to do the ghosting thing. However, I know at least for me, um, and I feel like you may be in the same boat. We both strive to be better. If I have done something and a friend no longer wants to be around me for a specific reason, I would want to know that. I would much rather them actually, bring that to my attention and be like, hey, this is because of what has gone on or because of the way you're acting. I don't think this friendship is working out. Like that would be a moment that I would really appreciate. However, I'm recognizing that probably just won't ever happen with a very very select few friends that would probably be something that would happen.
Yeah, I think you've even kind of expressed that to me in the past, that there have been sort of friendships that you were kind of not really understanding why you didn't hang out with certain people anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can see that it's not necessarily what you would call closure. It's not
Mhm.
that. It's more just like having an understanding.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, I know that I struggle with that. I want to, I have a craving of understanding. I want to understand situations. I want to make sure that I'm fully grasping what's going on, almost to like, hey, a detriment in some situations where I think that there's a lot of things that are like almost are better left unsaid. But for me, it's like, no, say it. Say it. I want to understand this. Say it. Which can
yeah.
be like off putting to people, I think. But
Yeah, it seems like almost forceful because they're like other people will be uncomfortable with it
yeah.
and they're like afraid of that, which is a clear indication that you probably shouldn't be friends with them
Yeah,
because
true.
that's not the kind of people that like I mean we are the kind of and the thing is like not every friendship that I have is exactly like ours, but most of them are pretty similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, yeah, at this point it's like I really only have like as far as like an actual close friendship, I think you're basically the only one. Like as far as yeah, I mean, like I have a lot of I guess what we would call acquaintances, or like I mean, like we brought up earlier, friend is a huge umbrella term that a wide variety of relationships kind of fit under friend. So I've got a lot of people that I would call friends, but as far as like what I am looking for in an actual supportive friendship that complements my lifestyle, my goals, and things like that. I like you're the one that fills that role, which is unfortunate. Not to just like, oh well, I want more friends, but it's also like I wonder if it's unfair to you, making you feel. Yeah, like is that too much of a role for one person? It's like, should I be branching out? Like, should there be more friends that could also fill that? Like,
I mean, I don't think so.
okay,
You're not what I would call a high maintenance friend.
okay, good.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting
I mean,
at. Yeah,
it's nice to have like friends that like you do different stuff with, or like participate in other activities, or have other interests. Like I have friends that because I would say that probably for me it's probably like four or five people
okay,
because I don't usually use the term friend loosely.
yeah,
I have like a pretty specific like idea. It's someone that is actually like that I actually feel like close to, someone that I know that like that I can count on, that I don't mind dropping everything to assist with something.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and like not expecting anything in return, but having an understanding that if I ever require anything, that there will be help there and no expectation of returning a favor or keeping score.
Yeah. You
But yeah,
know
I
that
have
they would help you move without you even giving them pizza and beer.
yeah,
That's like one of the
exactly.
markers of like a quote unquote friendship to me. It's like, yeah, you know
Yeah,
that they're there to help you with that kind of shit. Yeah.
but I mean, for the record, there will definitely be pizza and beer.
Yeah, yeah, but
But I know that even if there wasn't, they would be okay with it.
yeah.
And for me, since I'm like, have certain physical limitations because of my disorder,
Mhm.
I'm the guy that brings the pizza and the beer at the end after everyone else helped you move.
Yeah. Yeah. You just sit there, watch, tell people how to do. Hold on. Fold
It's
that
like,
better,
hey,
please.
that picture's not straight. Like, I don't think we should put the couch there. But I know I seem like a dick right now, but there will be pizza and beer.
I promise.
Um, Yeah, and it will be shitty beer. It's always shit. You can't drink good beer with pizza. It's just that's
Mm.
just not something you do. Even if it's good pizza, you can't drink good beer. Um, Beside the point, but
No, I agree with
re-
that. Yeah.
relevant, I think, to mention in this on the subject of pizza. But yeah, I think that well, and we mentioned proximity, but that's not always a thing because like one of my closest friends lives 3.5 hours away from me.
Hmm.
And it's weird because like we'll go a couple weeks without talking, and then like we'll text each other every day for like a couple days, and it's always like the oh gross. Let me take a drink. Sorry.
You're fine.
And like we also have like we're fair weather, like sunny day friends, but we're also rainy day friends. So like if one of us is sitting at home bored, then one of us can like text the other or send the other like something and just say hi,
Yeah.
and then have something to do for a little while if you're feeling bored or lonely and whatnot.
Yep.
Or like if everything's great and you just want to say hi. So proximity is not always a thing if you put in an effort.
True.
And it's interesting because like we have been friends. We became that person used to live here, and that's how I know them.
Okay.
But we've become friends since they've lived that far away. So we've never considered ourselves friends and lived in the same city.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. Very weird. But it's still cool.
Do you have many friends? The whole proximity thing sparked this because I've had a lot of friendships over the years that were like strictly digital. I've had a lot of people that I've met on, World of Warcraft, and that was like, and like had a what I would consider a real friendship, but never actually met this person in person, or person in person. Never actually was physically in the same room with them. Have you ever had a friendship like that?
I have only had 2 or 3 of those. There was one specific game I played, Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
And I actually made friends with a couple people on there. We had like a whole little group together. We'd play,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of stopped playing, and a bunch of stuff happened at work, and I didn't have time to play anymore. We kind of lost touch. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, they were all super cool. Like one of them, like I knew his real name. He knew my real name. I knew about his grandma and like things that were going on in his life and school and job stuff. So like we talked about plenty of things outside of the game.
Yep.
But we had so many laughs like playing together and stuff. Like actually one this might not be relevant, but I think it's funny. In Siege, it'll tell you when someone dies. It'll tell you 4v5 or 3v5 or
Mm-hmm.
2v4. Like it'll tell you. And there was one game we were playing where he was like he's like, distance, man, let me show you how it's done, bro. And he like leaps in a window and immediately you hear and it says 4v5. And I'm like, nice.
Yeah. Good job. Very, very well done. That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, it was cool. And I started like a couple of the other guys like in the group. There was another dude that played with us, and we played other games together.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like talk trash and like give each other shit and just stuff that like normal friends would do, and that was cool. But yeah, I've only had a couple friends like that. And then we actually made friends with this like he was like an 11-year-old from Colombia. And he played with us all the time, and he was actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so like the 4 of us kind of like became a crew.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy we played with sometimes, but he didn't talk much.
Okay.
He was like that, how like in some groups of friends, there's that one friend that's just sort of quiet.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah. I think that is a cool thing about those kind of online friendships is, I mean, like you pointed out, you probably wouldn't be friends with an 11-year-old Colombian boy in any other situation if it wasn't over online with a video game. Like that would just be very awkward if you came to hang out and you're like, yeah, I'm going to bring my new friend, and it was like an 11-year-old Colombian boy. The Colombian part has, if it was just an 11-year-old boy, I would be weirded out. But
what?
Yeah, if you
the fact that it was someone from another country, is that what I mean?
No, yeah, I'm trying to take that off of it because yeah, that's not exactly what makes it weird. But I do think that it's kind of cool that there are these friendships that can pop up in situations like that where you don't really have much in common other than this game. But you can find that like after then interacting with this person based on this one thing, it's like, oh shit, well actually they're a cool person and I enjoy their company.
Yeah. It was funny. Like sometimes it didn't seem like he was as young as he was. Like some of the stuff that he would say to us. And it was cool because like the reason why we started playing with him is because like many 11-year-olds, he was really good at killing people on the internet with a mouse.
Yeah.
And he would carry our team on many occasions. Not the best strategist, but a fantastic shot.
Yeah, no, I'm sure those amazing young reflexes that like.
Yeah, he would blast people pretty hard. But yeah, and that's kind of where it came from. It was like centered around the game. Like had it not been for that, there's no way we would have ever, actually been friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But we talked about that game mostly, and like every now and then, like he'd, mention things like the fact that he was Colombian was cool because he could like share things like stuff like cultural stuff, and like sometimes I'd like practice my Spanish with him. and alienate the rest of our team because no one else spoke Spanish.
I think the friendships that I've had like that are interesting. I mean, now with Twitch, it's a little different because most of the like online friends, and I mean, well, even just like with Discord communities and stuff, it's very common to for people to like share selfies and stuff. So you get to know the person actually as the person. But for years, I had friends that all they were their avatar to me. I like, we played WoW together, and I'd never seen what this person looked like or whatever. But for years, it's like I just knew them as this character basically, and it was like it's kind of weird that they were pixels on a screen. I mean, I know they were a real person. I know that we had real conversations, but like it's strange to not have that face to face connection or intimacy, I guess, that is very I would have expected is like almost necessary for human friendships. But apparently not.
Did you see Ready Player One?
Yeah.
When it turned out that the two like vicious assassin ninjas they played with were like two like adolescent boys.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that like the gigantic like hulking beast was a young woman in her mid-20s.
Yeah.
Like that was did you just ask me what time it is in Spanish?
I think that's what that means. Yeah.
Just subtract 5 from where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I don't even know where I was on that. Oh, so there's and this is kind of dorky. And yeah, fine. I'm in that like whole mid-30s stereotype where I'm bored at home, so I got a TikTok.
Yeah.
But there is this group of people that do these hilarious TikTok videos, and like it's a VR like soldier game.
Okay.
But they do these hilarious sketches. Like one of them, a guy's holding a Molotov cocktail that's lit. he's like, hey man, you want some beer? You want some beer? Some beer that sets you on fire? And they start screaming.
It's funny.
And the one dude like that's watching them like, but it's weird because I don't think those people have ever actually seen each other in person.
Yeah.
But because it's a VR game, they interact in a fashion that's like seems very real.
Yeah.
But their videos are really, really, really funny. I might actually need to send you their little channel or whatever you call it on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what that's called.
Yeah. They're hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I'm fairly certain that none of those people have ever actually seen each other in person. So I guess with this, and I mean, I don't know if it was your intent, but I mean, that also expresses the broadening of the term friend.
Yeah. It's I mean, we're at a point in history where that's possible for the first time ever. It is not something that could have happened like 100 years ago.
And some people might say like, oh well, those people aren't really your friends. It's like, but are they not though?
Yeah,
I think they might be.
Well, I mean, so yeah, go back. What is the Merriam-Webster definition again? A person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. Yeah, I mean, like it specifically, it doesn't mention anything about like, oh, and you've been in the same room, or you've like any sort of like limiting factor like that.
Yeah, like any kind of bond that you have with that person. And I think that for me, I think that and maybe this is an unfortunate thing, but I think what makes a friend is that it's someone that, for me at least, that I trust enough that they have the ability to hurt me very severely. That I trust them like with that ability. And sometimes they end up doing that. And then you got to figure it out and kind of, move forward and, apologize here, change your behavior, blah, blah, blah. But I think that for me, I don't really consider somebody a friend if they're not in a position where their ideas and their opinion is valuable enough to me that I can actually be hurt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I completely agree. It requires a level of vulnerability to be a real friendship, in my opinion. Yeah.
And that's something that I think is a thing that a lot of American like biological, like typical, cisgender, whatever males, that's something that I think a lot of us are trying to move toward. That it's unfortunate that we don't open up to our friends to the point like where they actually are able to do that.
Yeah.
And you see like there's a whole like movement, like several little like, YouTube documentaries and things where people go around and not even here. Actually, there's a really good one in the UK. I forget the woman's name that does it, but it's pretty cool.
What is your friend doing?
No, well, not talking about anything interesting with me. I don't know. Apparently, must have been something. I swear to God, there's another centipede in my apartment. I don't know. There must have been something interesting at the blinds. I feel like I get distracted by my cat all the time on this podcast.
I don't think it's a bad thing, man. Cats are the shit, dude.
But yeah, and I think that's an important thing, because for me, like, I don't think that it's really. I think that if you're friends with somebody and they don't have the ability to hurt you in some way, that you're not as close to that person as I think you should be. And I think that a lot of people are afraid of that for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being vulnerable, opening up is scary. Like it makes sense. Like, but it also, in my opinion, it's also required to have a real connection. And if you want more than just the surface level type of friendship that we talked about earlier, I think that it has to be there. You have to be willing to say like, okay, I am willing to allow myself to be hurt here because I want to have a real connection with this person.
Yeah, and that requires courage on both parts.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people get hurt in a lot of ways by a lot of different people. What's it? Once you're bitten by a snake, the paranoia will make you pop a lizard in the face.
I don't think I've ever heard that, but I like that. Yeah.
It's from a rap song.
Is it?
Except I delivered it terribly. It's I think I've told you about him before. His name's Jadena.
Oh yeah, no, I remember him. Yeah.
He's it's the first track on one of his albums. I forget which one. Yeah, I mean, people get that way, and I think that a lot of us end up missing out because we're scared.
Yes, that happens a lot.
But I think I think that if individuals do not get to a point where they can be vulnerable around a person and know that they can count on that person, and to try to walk through life with that person, to run with them, so to speak, and to allow that person to help them, be a better human, then I think there's a lot that people are missing out on. Not to say that there's anything wrong with any other style of friendship, but for me, I feel like of the friendships I've had in my lifetime, the one that you and I have, which is that style of friendship, is one of the most, if not the most beneficial friendship that I have and maybe have had in my lifetime.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And for me, that is what I'm looking for. But I also like, I wonder, I don't feel like I'm doing it wrong or anything, because I feel like, as far as life goes, I'm doing what's right for me, which ends up, craving that type of connection and everything. However, I wonder if like, is it the whole like ignorance is bliss thing, where a lot of people could just be happier having these surface level connections and not really, like, if you have no desire to grow or progress, I don't think that's right for me. But it's like, I could almost see that like someone could actually be enjoying life a lot more just by skating by and not really caring about a lot of shit, and having yes men friends that are just going to like placate to what they want. And just like Lee said, it's very superficial, but I can't say that it's probably not enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that at the end of it, I think that when you get to a certain point in your life, in hindsight, I think a lot of people will recognize that those friendships really didn't mean that much.
Yeah.
I think that that even if you're blissful for a number of years that I think that at some point, and I don't want to say catch up with you, but at a certain point, I think most people will realize that maybe it wasn't worth as much
Yeah,
as
I
they
think you're
thought it
right.
was. Like there's a lot of like, party friends, I would call them, that I had in my early 20s
Hmm.
that I recognize now, while we had fun in the moment, that it was never really a lasting benefit to me. But also, it's like having a lot of different friends. You can decorate your life, your existence with all kinds of people
Hmm.
that offer different things. And maybe there are some people that it's really superficial and that's that. And then perhaps that friend has another friend that their relationship with isn't that superficial and they have
Yeah.
something that's more like meaningful. And then you have a friend that's the same thing. Maybe there's a friend that you have fun with. Like I have a buddy that um we we talk about stuff, um usually like political or like economic stuff,
Okay.
and we go to the gun range together, and that's our friendship.
Yeah.
um and for us, like, there's really no need for us to really be anything else. Like I don't really need to, like, open up to the guy about anything and vice versa. And we
Hmm.
have a fine benefit
Yeah.
from that friendship. And it's built around, um, you know, talking about things and interesting stuff and comparing notes and challenging each other, like constantly competing. One of the biggest motivators to get better at shooting is that guy.
That's cool. Yeah.
Because
Yep.
he's really good.
Yeah.
So, and and I think that's great. It's a good part of my that friendship. And then I have other friends that our relationship is based on our love and enjoyment of music.
Yeah.
um and that's mostly what we talk about. And that's part of our friendship too. Like we have that too. Like we talk about music.
Yep.
Mention bands, and you tell me about weird pop artists from Europe.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, yeah, you mentioned metal bands, and I'm, dude, have you heard of this strange pop star? Actually,
Say,
yeah.
listen to this person with a weird name and that has bizarre music videos.
Oh man.
And that's kind of how it goes usually. I mean, you mention a few metal bands every now and then, but for me, it's always weird pop music. Because chances are, if you mention a metal band, I probably heard them anyway.
Yeah, and
Um,
it like I've realized too, like I very rarely discovered new metal bands anymore. Like I listen to a lot of the stuff that I listened to years ago, and occasionally I'll come by like a new, like Infinite Annihilator came by them, like in 2016 basically. But it's like it's few and far between for me to like find a new metal band now. That doesn't happen very often.
and with the mention of that band, we've now alienated all of our viewers.
Yeah.
Not to be taken seriously, the name. They're just, yeah, being facetious.
Well, it's I think from what I understand, it's a concept name about the Catholic Church. I think that they consider the Catholic Church to be the Infinite Annihilator. So I think that it is like they don't call themselves, like it like yeah, I mean, of course, when you use a word as your band name, you're kind of calling yourself that. But I think the idea isn't like, hey, we're gonna annihilate some infants.
I hope there's no Catholics listening, because now they're alienated.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. Fuck.
Well, I don't think that we have any Catholic listeners. If we do, then sorry, guys.
Dude, I was
It's not our
wondering that
opinion, it's
too.
someone else's.
I'm really glad that you asked, Lee, because I was wondering that same thing too, but I just had not
Yeah,
had a chance to type it in yet.
what a Cumberland sausage is. Yeah, and please forgive me if that was offensive to anyone that knows what that is. It sounds like it might be. Uh, yeah. So yeah,
There was one more like topic that I wanted to touch on, and it kind of like falls in vein with what we're about here. I feel like we've probably been over this, but without like specifically getting to it. But it's like, how do you be a better friend for the people around you?
well, I mean, for me at least, the way you can be better is, well, it takes two though, because your friend has to communicate with you when you've screwed up.
Yeah.
or you've done something that was out of line or hurtful,
Mhm.
and then you need to recognize that as their friend when they communicate it to you, and then you need to make an effort to, you know, not repeat that. If it's something that you've done that's like not like good for them, but you know, or even on a positive side, if you do something together, or you talk about a thing, or you uh uh I don't know, explore a new like avenue in your friendship, like start doing a new activity together that neither of you have tried,
Mhm.
um, then if your friend expresses to you that that was something that was cool, like let's do it again, well, then you do it again. You make a point to.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, but it requires to be a better friend. You have to be open to being a better person, because if you're not open to that, then you can't, you know, continue. And you know, like even you know, you and I, like we had a conversation recently where I acted like a jackass, and it's important for me to, and see, you're being a good friend by accepting the fact that I screw up sometimes, and then I'm being a good friend by acknowledging that I screwed up and communicating with you how I'll act better in the future,
Yeah.
and now going forward doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
um and you know, it's that is an important thing. You know, it's being willing to accept people's flaws if they're things that you can tolerate. Like if it's a deal breaker, then you wouldn't be friends. And if
Exactly.
yeah, um so yeah, I mean that those are just kind of my thoughts on it. Like what about you? Anything to add to that? Or
Yeah. I mean, I think I think we kind of we didn't specifically say it, but for me, a big part of it is listening. It's being present, being there, and I mean, of course, like, you know, being willing to give, because like we said, I mean, a friendship requires both people getting a benefit out of it. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of people are like we talked about earlier, just takers, and it ends up being, you know, like I think it was even Angel that mentioned that a little further up in chat, but like having friends that they were there for a short period of time because basically all they were doing was taking from you, and they kind of float. You know, I think there's a lot of people that do the like social butterfly thing, floating between friend groups, and I think a lot of times it's because they're not willing to be present and give into a friendship. They're there, they take what they want, and then they move on to somewhere else, and that cycle just kind of continues. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is yeah, being willing to listen and being willing to give. But of course, you know, not, like you said, not altruistically. You know, you still need to you need to give, but you also need to be making sure that you're getting something out of that friendship, or you're just doing a detriment to yourself.
Yeah, if and it's funny because people argue whether or not there's such a thing as true like altruism, like real altruism. And
Yeah.
I think that if you're in a situation in which that's occurring, then it's probably not very good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we had that debate in one of my in a business ethics class that I had in college. It's like, yeah, basically, I mean, to most people, like you're saying, that there is no you're anytime you're doing something that you're thinking is altruistic, there's some sort of selfish motivator behind it.
Yep. Yeah. And not necessarily anything wrong with that, but it's true. Yeah. Um cool.
Yeah.
You got anything else, man?
Uh I don't I don't. I hope your quote is what I was thinking. I know it's not. I know it's not. You're gonna have a good quote. I had a really funny meme quote in my mind, but there's no way that you picked this quote.
Is it the one about it's is it the one from the TV show where the person says like, "Yeah, she's my girl. So, if I kill someone in my living room, she's the one I call to help me drag the corpse out."
Uh,
Is it that one?
no, but like
Well, if
you
yours is
nailed it
funny,
with you
if yours is
nailed it with
funny, share
TV
it.
show. I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour.
Oh
I'll be
God.
there for you like I've been there
No.
before.
No.
But no, my mind just went to like I had to at some point during the episode to touch on the actual Friends TV show. At a certain point, I wanted to ask you who your favorite friend was, and I was gonna get confused when your answer wasn't Joey or Chandler. Like, but I've missed all
I
of my opportunities.
I despise that show.
Really?
It's one thing about the 90s that should stay gone. I hate it. Completely hate it. I cannot stand that show. I don't know if it's like the contrarian in me or what, but there's just something about that.
I
also hate Full House.
Dude, I think that my memories of Friends are a lot better than it actually was, because it's like I grew up with that show being kind of like, Thursday night TV was hanging out with the family for a little bit. Friends and ER were on, and those were like the two shows that I like remembered watching as a kid. Well, I mean, there's more than that, but and then recently, when Friends was on Netflix, I tried to like rewatch through some of it, and I started in season 1, and a lot of it was just like really bad. There were definitely some redeeming moments, and I definitely enjoyed some of it, but there were episodes that was just like, holy shit, this is Big Bang level bad.
Yeah. And there's a lot of shows like that I've looked back on and been like, oh my god, this was shit. What were we thinking?
Yeah.
The quote I have is actually from someone you wouldn't necessarily expect.
Okay.
I believe that isn't the digital assistant on the Android named Watson?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think that this might be who that assistant's named after. This dude was actually, I think he was the original CEO of IBM.
Wouldn't it? Hold on. Why would are you sure it's not named after Sherlock's Watson?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Watson was a doctor. I just feel like it would be like a perfect like nerdy callback thing.
Yeah, but that's like the quintessential assistant though. Man, I don't know. I wonder where that came from. Yeah, I'm really wondering now.
We should do an entire podcast on the origin of that. But it's a Thomas J. Watson. That's the guy. So not really necessarily someone you'd expect. Don't make friends who you are comfortable to be with. Make friends who will force you to lever yourself up.
That's going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button, subscribe to keep up to date with what we're doing, and comment below and tell us what the word friend means to you. If you're interested in further taking part of the conversation or even joining us as a guest on a future episode, you can join our Discord. The link is in the description down below. And we will be live next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. I skipped the day. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TyloTV. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope everyone has a great week.